right, welcome everybody to episode number 2 of the Self-Liberation Project podcast. I am Nathan Hawken, and of course I have with me
Christy Mokutupu. Welcome again, everyone.
Welcome. So good to see you again. For those of you guys who don't know, I live in Ireland and Christy is in Sydney, so I always got to sync up the times. So as always, my hat's off to you, Christy, because it's the evening, the end of another probably long day. Because what's about 7 o'clock, 8 o'clock for you now?
Yeah, 6, 7 o'clock. Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
so
so I'm just starting my day.
So 8 o'clock I go downhill.
Yeah, so that's why it's always funny when we do this, because I feel like I'm charged, I'm ready to start my day, I'm getting moving, and I know you're kind of finishing your day, so we've got to try and keep that energy going just for that final little stretch.
Yeah, but for people talking about these topics, I always get passionate and wake up. It's good. I love it.
Yeah, I've noticed that before when I've been working with clients in the past doing personal breakthrough sessions, but they're in Australia or somewhere else, and so it's the start of their day, but it's the end of my day, so I'll be going midnight, 1 o'clock, 2 a.m. because it's the only time that worked. But I found by the end of it, I'm charged because it's the breakthroughs that they've had or the realizations that they've had gives me that juice, and so I try and get to sleep because I got to work the next day. No, it doesn't happen. I'm too charged up.
Yeah, it's powerful work that you do as a coach, from our own coaching that you did with me. But it's powerful stuff and these topics that you can have breakthroughs and it can change your life just by having a simple conversation and sharing. So that's why that's why this podcast to me is so important. It's important work.
Yeah, I think it is. One thing I've noticed is that there's a genuine energy that happens. I've noticed in particular techniques that I would do on a client, like a parts integration or some timeline therapy or something, when they have that type of shift, I can, when I'm sitting next to someone, I can feel the energy. But I've had clients over in, say, the USA, and there was one client in particular, she was sitting on a balcony, she had this huge shift, I won't get into it now, but this huge breakthrough and shift, and I could feel it, I could literally feel it. It's like it was coming from the laptop almost. But there is an energy that happens, and I think this is the type of energy that you can really tap into when you need to, or when you really want to, is probably a better way to say it. Absolutely.
We are in control when we want to. That's right.
Yeah. But speaking of energy, so today we wanted to kind of get into, the topic is how to stop warring with yourself, which I kind of like that term warring, because I know myself, I war with myself over a lot of things. Sometimes when I'm in a bit of a down place, or it's just, life is happening and those challenges are coming, I feel like I am warring with myself. No matter how hard I try to do something, there's an internal conflict that is either stopping me from doing it, or it's stopping me from at least thinking in a more positive way to help me take more action or whatever it is that I may do. But one thing I've realized working with clients, speaking to you with my own experience, it's almost like there's a constant battle going on inside our heads or inside our body. And it's that battle that can really either make or break us sometimes, particularly if we're feeling a little bit low or life has been happening and getting in the way. It's hard we put more energy into battling rather than less energy or more energy into actually coming up with some solutions, with doing something or taking that action. That's the topic for today. One question I did have for you, Christy, considering you've got your professional volleyball background, I'd imagine that the training that you've gone through, the competing that you've gone through, there must have been some type of internal battles or warring going on as you're consistently pushing yourself to get to that next level. I would love to hear a little bit more about some of your experiences with those type of challenges and those type of warrings that you've had with yourself.
Great question. I think because I was an elite athlete or Olympian at 17, this was my teenage years. So this is when we're just starting to get comfortable with ourselves, or we're getting judged, or we're worrying about what other people think. The major thing I struggled with worrying myself was my body image. And, as an athlete, you have to look at how fast you are, how high you can jump, your cardio. So the obsession with body image and yourself, every part of your body becomes an obsession to food you're eating, you're watching others. And so I think the biggest war I faced was being the best. I wanted to be the best in Australia, I wanted to be the best in the world. I wanted to win every single time. And when you have that competitive spirit in you, then obviously what is that going to do? You're going to war with yourself a lot, because any failures, anything that you look at yourself, we used to have skin folds test and test our fat percentage. And you just, the war would be there, because you'd have to deal with failure, you'd have to deal with not being happy with your results. Then you're losing games after trying, you're tired. So this, it was hard, but it definitely gave me a skill set to learn how to manage that. It was such high pressure at times in terms of warring with yourself. So that was body image is the first thing that comes up to mind, and being obsessed with the body. And it's taken me years actually to learn to love my body and myself after that obsession with wanting to be the best.
Yeah, and I suppose that's a good point, because there's a lot of people out there struggling with loving themselves or caring for themselves. But I'd never considered that before, because if you're, as you said, you were growing up, you're in that stage of your life where you were figuring life out whilst being a professional athlete, which must have been tough, because I think about the stress, the battles that you'd have to go through to consistently push your mind and body to the limits to be of Olympic standard. But a lot of the times I've forgotten that you were just like a kid, even if you're 17, 18, 19, even 20 years old, you're kind of still a kid at that age. You don't really know much about the world and life, or there's not that much maturity there. So I never really thought about that, because I think kids have it pretty challenging in general. It's a lot of confusion. So I can only imagine what that must have been like, trying to be a professional athlete whilst figuring yourself and life out at the same time.
Yeah, but I think the one thing that obviously makes it easy for athletes is that we're idolized by people and looked up to by people. So, you do have a confidence at that age where, you're just glorified all the time, because you're such a great, people would love volleyball. So people are always looking up to you and glorifying you. So you have this confidence, but I think it's almost a fake confidence, or, there was deep insecurities within me. But you don't let that know. You're there to be seen as this warrior and this competitor and this Olympian. But there was definitely massive insecurities underneath that you wouldn't show, because I'm out there to win, destroy, and kill, and I don't want people to see weaknesses or anything like that. So if I was warring with myself, it was a private battle, and I probably carried that into my normal personal life after my career ended, which I suffered. If people know that story, that's a whole nother story of pretending I'm happy when I wasn't underneath.
Yeah. So, and I'd imagine that type of confidence would be, like you said, it is not 100% accurate, but I'd imagine that would almost compound any warring or any struggling that you're having with yourself, because you have to put up that front. Because I find that quite interesting. We hear a lot about being an overnight success, which really is non-existent. That never happens. It's to become an overnight success, you've got to fail for 20 years first, like that type of thing.
That's right.
But it's like when you've got to front up and be that person, be that persona, show that you are confident, I think that's when more troubles are actually happening underneath, And if you look at maybe celebrities, like athletes, of course, people who are in that kind of higher power or that spotlight, a lot of them are really struggling with their day-to-day life in general. They may have broken marriages, shattered relationships, they may not be happy, might be addicted to substances or whatever it may be, which always typically comes from a deep-seated belief or a challenge within inside yourself, where that constant battle's there. So to consistently battle with being the best and putting on that front whilst kind of crumbling on the inside, man, I don't know what that's like, because I'm not a celebrity, of course, or I've never really been in that limelight, but I know how hard it can be on a day-to-day basis, just living in life and trying to figure things out as we go. I can only imagine what that would be like when you're at that type of status level. It must have been tough.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't think so. Now I look back, I think I was just enjoying myself as well. But when as you get older, you look back at things and think, gosh, I would have done it differently, or I would, wiser now. I probably didn't. I was still young, so I was still a kid in a way. I wasn't probably looking at that too much as well. I just wanted to play volleyball and have fun. Yeah,
okay, that's cool. I know one thing I've noticed is the daily battles that we have, or the daily battles that I have, can start so early as well. And as when we start getting into the territory of like having a morning routine and setting yourself up for the day and those type of things, which we can talk about, but that type of information's out there. But I think it's important to understand what's happening underneath the surface with those type of things. Because I know me personally, I've been trying to get back into having a steady and consistent morning routine ever since I had kids. Like I used to be up at 5 a.m., go for a walk, and do my hour of power type of thing. If you're into Anthony Robbins, but then I realized that when I had kids, that slowly and surely kind of disappeared because it became harder. Babies waking up, you're lacking in sleep, and as they get older, I know my kids, they've always woken up quite early. And it's at the point now where I haven't really done it for a while, but my kids are sleeping in a little bit more, so I'm trying to get myself up in the morning. But I've noticed on the times when I don't do it, which is pretty often at the moment, I automatically start battling with myself. I automatically start warring with myself because I'm struggling against that initial, well, I failed already because I didn't get up early and I didn't go out. And that, I've noticed, kicks off like a negative train of thought throughout the day. So anything else which I do wrong, in inverted commas, then that adds to the battle which is happening inside me. It's like, oh, you didn't wake up early in the morning to go do your morning routine, which, oh, you haven't been to the gym now either. Or you dropped something on the floor, which obviously makes you like I'm not good enough or something like that. And then that's where the battle continues throughout the day, unless I can get myself in a position to be able to do something about it, like stop, meditate, or take 10 minutes out to do some breathing and just remind myself of a few of the good things I do or that I'm doing quite well. But I think that's how these type of consistent battles and this consistent warring with yourself happens, is when you start the day or begin that train of thought and don't do anything about it to stop it. I mean, what's been your experience with that?
Well said. It's so relatable what you said. I was thinking, gosh, everyone can relate to this, right? Starting off in the morning, you're right, and one thing goes wrong, and then it's the next thing, and you just start building this weight of heaviness over yourself for being hard on yourself. Look, all I can say is that I'm so glad since I became a Christian, I'm so liberated from that. If anyone was hard on themselves and was that hard that self-hatred came over myself, and then self-hatred from failure, that was me. That's why I ended up at rock bottom and depressed at 30, because I was so hard on myself. And every time I did something wrong, it just kept piling up, and I never forgave myself. And so by the time I hit 30, here I was at rock bottom in depression, and it's because I could never forgive myself, and I sucked at failing. I didn't like to fail. So if we can help liberate people and give them tools or ideas of how to overcome that failure and right, not doing the things you say you're going to do, or failing, I think it can really liberate people as I've been liberated. Yeah,
for sure. One thing I've noticed is like that lull when you hit 30. Or that going into a bit of a hole when you hit 30, because I was about the same. I think I was around 30 when I first started to get into personal development, and that came as a result of me looking at my current life, not making enough money, not being able to deal with my own thinking, my own emotions, kind of being very passive aggressive and keeping everything on the inside. My wife was struggling with certain things in her life which were affecting me. And I never really figured out how to deal with it. But I literally, because I would be in tears some days when instead of working, I'd be in my car crying and things like that. And that's a story for another time. But I was around 30 when I actually kind of hit that wall where I was just like, no, something's got to be done. And that's when I literally broke down one day. And I don't know, like that little calling inside popped up, because I asked those questions like, is this it? Is this all there is to life? Is this what my life is going to be like? And my voice came back inside my head saying, no, there's more. And essentially getting me up and about and started on the path of like personal development. But it was the one thing I didn't even realize in the early beginning. It's more now, because I turned 40 this year, so this has been 10 years of starting to tap into that type of thinking. But one thing I'm realizing more and more is that self-love, self-care, forgiveness for yourself, and not judging yourself is by far one of the most important things. And once you can start to adopt that about yourself, then you can replicate that about your feelings towards other people. Because, as you said,
right,
it is very relatable, because we're all human beings and we're all struggling with the same things underneath the surface. Externally, like surface level, that might be slightly different because we've got different things going on in our lives. But the things which are holding us back and that we're warring with and that we're struggling with, pretty much everyone is struggling with those same type of things in some form or another. And to come back to, it's inside me. I need to forgive myself first. I need to stop judging myself. I always think that's the first step to creating anything that you want in your life, but also to be able to see people in a new light as well and stop that judgment upon them.
I just did a video actually for my own something on bullying, trolls, haters, and so just remind me of what you said, which ties in exactly what I said, which was it starts with you. You can't go out as soon as you love and accept yourself and you're confident within yourself, and you say I'm enough, and my imperfections are fine. Then you can go out into the world, and no matter what anyone says to you, they can never it can never get to you because you've gone within first, which you talk about a lot too. And worked on that. And when you work so deeply within, then when you go out, nothing can come that's a troll, hater, bully, public humiliation, because you do not allow that, because you're so confident, happy, and in love with yourself that it can't affect you. So that's one of the strategies. Yeah, that's one of the strategies for me. It starts within. And so when I go out and people tell me all these lies about who I am online in comment sections and feedback, I just don't listen. I'm like, nope, it's not truth for me.
Yeah. I always find that type of thing. So when someone says something like that, or someone acts in a certain way, it's them displaying who they are about themselves, or how they feel about themselves. There's one of the things I learned in my NLP training was that perception is projection. So basically, if you see something in someone that you really, really don't like, then there's a really good chance that that's a part of your deep dark self that you really don't like, and it's just being displayed to you. And so when you can recognize that, you don't even necessarily have to quite understand exactly what's going on in your head, but this is where the introspective work really comes in. But if you can recognize that, and you recognize that you are passing some type of judgment upon other people for them just being themselves, them just doing life as they see their world, then you have to start to realize that that's part of you. And if you can start to realize that, that's when you can think, right, what is it about myself that I'm judging right now? So if I'm looking at this person over here, or someone sent a comment like to you online, then it's a good reflection of like how they see themselves. But if you can recognize that within inside yourself, like, I'm really judging this person right now for no reason, or this person's really annoying me right now. Why am I getting annoyed? Why am I choosing to get annoyed? There's a lot of the time, if you look deep enough inside yourself, like, well, that's probably part of an annoyance that I have about myself that I'm trying to contain because I think I might be annoying to other people, which is part of holding yourself back, right? It's part of me, like, I'm not expressing myself fully. And I feel bad about it. And the way I feel bad about it and justify that is by seeing that part of me inside someone else and then putting it on them rather than taking ownership of it.
That's right. And I think also what you said before, which was fantastic as well, was the once you understand yourself and understand how you operate, then you have empathy for others and you can see past things. Or if they say something, I don't know, I've just got this huge understanding now of trauma and emotions of the past and experience and how it affects us and how it can manifest. And so then now I have this empathy for others that, you can see, you can be soft towards someone that's possibly hating on you or trolling you or saying something negative, as you said, because it's got something to do with that going on inside of them more than and me. So it provides a space of empathy now rather than getting mad at them. Not all the time, but most of the time.
But that's really important, because you can imagine the number of conflicts and arguments and fights and things like that have happened as a result of a lack of understanding and lack of wanting to understand, and more importantly, a lack of realizing that that person is just being that person, right? It doesn't make them bad. And inevitably, no one's bad. They may have done bad things, but as we came into this world, we're a beautiful, bright light, untouched, unscathed. Maybe we're carrying things from a previous life, but we're not going to get into that now. But it's a beautiful human being without no conditioning or anything. It's only through their experiences on this earth, on this planet, in this universe, their conditioning through life, have they adopted certain beliefs or certain models of their world, and they're just acting upon those. It doesn't make them a bad person. And so once you can understand that you're doing the same thing, you are how you are, you're enough, you've got your challenges, you've got your faults, if you will, your areas to work on. You can also understand that other people are the same. They may say something hurtful or spiteful, but that's them just being them, and they're coming from usually a place of maybe sadness, or there's something about themselves that they don't like, and it's getting displayed in a certain way.
That's right. That's right. It's so important for me to know that I'm imperfect, and so I can't expect other people to be perfect. And by just having that simple one line to myself, I'm able to, find a way to forgive or to try and reconcile or keep going in the relationship or work through it. Because even if I think they're doing something wrong by me, I look at my life and my past and my failures and my imperfections, and you just have to keep working towards reconciliation all the time.
Yeah. So what do you think would be a good actionable step or tip that someone could do in their life if they're really struggling or if they realize that they're constantly warring with themselves? Like, what's something that's worked for you?
Well, for me, I became a Christian. The Christian life gave me all the tools that I needed in order to. My relationship with God has given me all the tools that I need to, love myself or know how to meditate, pray, and go within. Also, coaching, counseling. There's many things that I've tried. I think if you think about, seeking God or seeking a counselor or seeking a coach, all of it requires you to go in. And like I said before, and will always say to people, until you go within and sort out your issues, your trauma, why things trigger you, like that should be a red flag. Like, why is that triggering me, what they said? Notice that. Go
Good
fix
question.
that. Go heal that. I think the number one thing I would say is go within and then find those people around you, like I said, those counselors and coaches and God, if you want, or someone religious or spiritual to help you go within and find the answer that you're looking for.
Yeah, that's actually a really good point. And I think one thing I'd add to that is giving yourself permission to do it. Because it's quite funny. I went we've just found this really cool place over here, just about 40 minutes outside of Dublin. They do like a traditional kind of Russian spa. So it's like a wood-burning sauna, sorry. So I went with a couple of friends and this type of conversation came up. And so that journey within is very important. I think it's the most important thing through understanding, self-realization, self-liberation, and to be able to just be better in life. But one thing that I've noticed has come up before, having worked with clients or hearing conversations, is that it's that fear of who I will be if I change myself, change my thinking. So if I let go of something which is holding me back, which I've been hanging on to for, say, 30 or 40 odd years, then if I let that go, if I don't have that anger anymore, who am I? Right? Because it becomes a defining piece of the character in their model of the world. So that fear of actually letting that go and becoming someone new is I wouldn't say it's a justifiable, but it's a very real fear that can pop up. So having that permission to be able to do it, say, you know what, it's okay to be me. It's okay to let go of what I need to. And I know I have the power to be able to do it is, I think, one of the first steps to be able to take. And then give yourself a freaking break. Right? Give yourself an absolute break. Right? And this is the thing, because this stuff can really build up and can really be something that's like piling on, compressing me down, like the weight of the world, which means every day I wake up and I'm already thinking about what I'm not doing. But you got to give yourself a break. As you said, realize that you're enough, but give yourself a break. Say, you know what? I'm doing the best that I can. Sure, I could do a little bit more. That will come. But right now, I'm doing the best I can. I'm going to give myself a break, realize that I deserve just changing a couple of little things and start taking those few little steps, whatever they may be. It doesn't have to be something huge, right? Got to take that pressure off.
That's right. And the thought life, it starts with like just catching. I mean, we most of us know this now. You've got to catch those thoughts straight away. And as soon as you know it's a negative thought, and one of the things I've always said to myself is, I'm enough. I think we went through this in coaching too. Yeah. I am enough. And just speaking those affirmations over myself, as soon as those words come, oh, you're not good enough, you can't do this, you can't do that. They're going to come into, we all get those thoughts. So it's just catching them, stopping them, and speaking words of affirmation and truth straight away, instantly, ourselves, and shut that thought down straight away. I was teaching my son this today, actually, same thing.
Yeah, now that's the type of thing, if you learn at such a younger age, it makes life so much easier. Right?
Oh, yeah.
So much easier. And I think the one thing that people have to be careful of is just when you try and tell yourself that you are enough, but you don't believe it, I've noticed that with inside myself sometimes, like my wife will say something about like my parenting, because she says I'm a great father. And like I do believe it, but there's times when I'm feeling low where she'll say something like no, and she'll say some really good things about me, but I don't want to hear it because I'm too busy focusing on feeling low. So it's that, you know what, I say to myself, I am good enough. Am I believing that right now? No. Okay, so why is that? Why don't I believe that? What's stopped me there? And it's going through that thinking and allowing those answers to come, which will help you start liberate yourself from that type of hole that you can go down, that negative type of thinking. But it's slowly but surely, the more you can get yourself to at least give yourself permission, ask the question, and get yourself into thinking of, I am good enough, the more bulletproof you become, the easier life becomes, because that's the first few steps to go. So to a point inside that will just have all the answers for you and allow you to be who you are, so you can be free from judgment and ideally stop the warring.
Yeah, that's right. And it might take, I mean, I've given advice to swear once because someone said to me, I said to someone, put your posture back and walk tall, because slouching like this shows you're not confident. And like they said, well, I'm not confident. I said, what? Well, I said, just say to yourself, I'm confident as fuck. I'm confident as fuck. I go, just say that to yourself every morning. Sorry for people I'm swearing, but sometimes you might have to for me, I say harden the fuck up to myself sometimes. So it might take something where you have to, speak with more conviction and to, tell yourself off, in a way, in order to, be that what you think you're not, in a way, or those affirmations.
Full power stance, right? I think that's what Tony Robbins would do, like slap his chest. Like, yeah, I am enough. But do that, because that's part of that's part of holding yourself back. Is when you kind of hold yourself over, you hunch yourself over. Physiology is very important. So if you can stand up and just let that go, and you're like, hey, you know what? I may not be feeling it right now, but I know I'm enough, and I know that thinking will hit my head when I need it the most. So as long as I can just get myself up and moving, that's fine. One of the first things you can do is just go for a walk. Get out of that little hunch and just start moving, because automatically it'll start kicking in some endorphins, and it might start making you feel a bit better. But I think that's a really good point. I think that's awesome.
Yeah, and even like you said, going outside and just standing out there and having deep breaths. When I've done that for boot camps, one of the coaches, Dwayne, he used to make us do that. Before and after, we'd breathe in and we'd be like just before an exercise and straight after, and he'd just slow us right down. And that was so powerful. Something so simple like that can really just snap you back into a really positive, sweet place that you need to be in.
Yeah, that slowing down. We should do an episode on that and really get into it. But I noticed that even with my coaching, which we did a few times, when the coaching session's about to start, I'd say, let's just take a couple of breaths and just really connect. That's something I learned from Rich Litvin when I'd seen him in a couple of YouTube videos. But that, I realized that I'm going too fast sometimes, and I need to be present in that moment, and I want my clients to be present in that moment. So when we stop, take a couple of breaths and just think about just that connection. So if you're going to be doing that about yourself when you're warring with yourself and trying to get in that mindset of I am enough, then take a couple of breaths. Just stop, close your eyes, take a couple of breaths, and just connect with yourself. Connect with the part of yourself where it's like, I am enough. I am enough. And just really get into it. And you'll notice just that slowing down is enough to get you to stop, right? And get you to realize it, because rather than thinking about everything else.
You did do that with our coaching last year, because last year I was in the midst of mandates and I was so busy. Yeah. And I'd come onto the coaching call, and I think you could tell sometimes I was just still all over the place. You're like, okay, just breathe, do a deep breath. And I found that really helps. See, even like you as well, you was another coach out there that did that. And I find that sometimes even, you need someone just to say, hey, and you're like, oh yeah, of course, sorry. And you get present.
And what happened? Because I remember there was one time, we won't get into it now, but there was one time, I think, even just after a couple of breaths, and I think I asked you a question about and it was something like, how are you? I think you got really upset at that moment because you had a lot of things going on. Because it was one of the first times.
I remember that coaching call. Yeah, it was one of the first really hard time.
It was, right? But that was it.
Yeah, I remember.
This is what happens with coaching or therapy or anything like that. One of the most simplest things is just stopping for an hour or stopping for half an hour to have a session. Sometimes you don't even need to speak, but it's that giving yourself time to stop, right? Just stop. 'Cause I notice myself, there's too much shit that goes on in life in general. Too much distraction, too many screens, too many shows, too much everything. Like me, I like going outside, I like nature, I like quiet. When I don't get that enough, I start to war with myself because I haven't made it happen. But it's if you can stop the distraction, give yourself that moment, then everything just, wouldn't say it catches up, but you're able to just segment it, decompartmentalize, and just stop for a minute. And it is the most powerful thing, because even the warring or the battling that's been going on, you're taking a break. It's like a ceasefire. Ceasefire, half an hour, ceasefire, come on, let's kick a ball for a while. We don't need to battle anymore, let's just stop, ceasefire, it's fine. And then after those couple of breaths or half an hour, it's what were we fighting about? Let's just hug and make up, were we?
Yeah, and patting yourself on the back as well. Often, too many times you say go, 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 but when you slow down, it's like now that we're talking about that session, I'm thinking, wow, I remember that and I got past that. Or like many times, it's a roller coaster up and down. And so to think where I am now and getting past that, I'm just so, that's good on you. You've done well to keep going, to get where you are. So sometimes definitely I think, which I have had to teach myself, is to say you've done well and stop looking at what I'm not doing and not be hard on myself and just go, good work.
Yeah, so simple but so true. Cool. So, well, that's about 30 minutes, so we should probably wrap it up. Geez, that went quick. Man, when we started, we were just like, we'll keep it nice and quick, 15, 20 minutes.
15 minutes!
Yeah. And that's the thing. But we could talk for hours if we needed to, and then we'll probably do that at some stage. One episode will be like 6 hours.
It's such meaningful work. This is where so many, like suicide and mental health decline. I mean, it's just such an important topic of this, right? Of mental health management for me. Yeah. And so, look, we've got a lot more to come. So, look, we'll finish up there. I'd say if this has resonated with you, if you've got any questions or any comments, please feel free to send them across. Leave them below wherever you're listening to this, whether it's on YouTube or any of our other platforms. And if you wanted any further contact with us, I mean, Christy, you've got your Patreon page. I've got my Patreon page as well. If you feel like you would like to support us, if you're enjoying this, then there's some options there for you. But if you've got any questions or anything, guys, please feel free to reach out, particularly if you're struggling with anything. We can always create an episode around your particular challenge so it helps you, because that'll definitely help other people. But even if you just need to have a conversation or just want to ask a question, feel free to reach out anytime. Christy, is there anything you wanted to add? No, it's amazing. Thanks, Nathan. Thanks again.
No worries. Well, thank you very much. That's probably about the time where you can finish up for the day. Go get some rest, get some dinner, chill out. I'm going to go start my day. And guys, thank you so much for listening. And we'll catch you next week.
See you next week, everyone. Bye.